If you are a market leading founder and you want to understand how you are going to redefine your edge in the age of AI through understanding how to take your legacy systems and turn them into AI native systems, then this video is for you. The goal for this video and the reason why I'm making it is because we work alongside 7 to 9 figure brands, as I will quickly show you here, just in terms of this. And the biggest thing that we've seen working alongside 7 to 9 figure brands is that it starts from the founder's vision. The founder really wants to understand capital optimization in terms of making this decision to go and build in the AI native way, or understand how to optimize that for the team in the AI or through the AI native lens. And it's very complex. If you don't understand what you're doing, you'll be sold into a direction where it's going to be a shiny toaster or something that someone is going to sell you. And the main problem that we've faced, or the recurring pattern that we hear, is that founders embark on this journey, they build, they engage with some vendors, and then they have to reset their process because they did not understand themselves what it means to build from an AI native first perspective. This is what I want each and every single person that watches this video to understand from a really deep, we're not going to go too technical, but from a perspective where you're going to really understand what you need to think about in terms of optimizing your capital when you are going to redefine your edge through AI systems or through AI in general, right? So usually the founders that we work with, they want to optimize their systems efficiency. They want to build and or upgrade their AI strategy to the AI infrastructure, and then finally to AI systems, which leads to AI ecosystems. And then they also, obviously, throughout the process, you want to scale further and more profitable through AI native lens. That is what we are faced with here, to enable them to take home more profits. So you're essentially going to solve the same problem that you're solving with less humans, and you are going to increase your output. So your capital expenditure in terms of how you invested into this direction, or whatever the direction it might be AI wise, same problem gets solved with less overhead, and your productivity per employee will increase, which means more money to reinvest back into the business growth. So that's what we're faced with here. And all of this stuff is coming from our ideation of working alongside top tier brands. Now, these are some of the top tier brands which we have worked alongside. I will get into a little bit of more detail on how we were actually able to do this, because we actually also had to work our tail off in order to work alongside teams at Apple, Google, DJI, and Starlink. We were really fortunate enough to be able to do that, but this is not a video for me explaining how all of that happened. If there is a need for that, I can make a complete different video on it. I have actually broken down pieces of the case study with this 9-figure engagement. I universally actually met the salesperson of this project, and we had a chat, and then from there, one call with the CEO, and then the other founding partners understood the whole situation, how these deals came together. It was a really unique situation and environment for us to actually, push and push and push, because we were competing with a top leading bank actually on this deal, which was very interesting. But anyways, these are some of the brands that was involved, not only in that deal, but on some separate other deals which we have worked on. Now, this is what we are going to cover specifically if we're looking at all these different things in terms of AI, right? Building with AI, or building through an AI native lens. We are going to first look at the situational awareness, and then we're going to look at some process breakdowns, results and impact, case studies, project timelines, and some offers and some next steps. So the reason why situational awareness is first is because you need to understand the market, but not just the market, also what is happening right now and where things are going, in order for us to enable us to build in the right direction, right? So if you don't know who I am, just for some little bit of a context, my name is Jacques Janse from Rensburg, and I am the founder of a leading AI architecture firm called Self-Built Systems, and I also capital allocate at a company called Solar Invest. So on the experience side, I am going to show you guys a visualization of the journey and the path that I have walked with Self-Built Systems, and also what happened throughout this based on the experience, because the first ever home run or really good project that we scaled throughout this journey was a company called The Gifted Academy, where we scaled personal brands with my friend and business partner, Timon Creek, where we scaled to around $40,000 in 4 months. So I'm going to quickly show you guys what that looks like on the visualization. All right, so here, as you guys can see, is a little bit of a map. So as I zoom in here, and I'll quickly show you guys here, this is the journey. So there was some iteration here previously as I grew up throughout high school, different businesses, different iterations of thoughts and ideas that failed, which finally led to the Gifted Academy. I universally or godly met Timon, as we were on the same wavelength, solving for a similar problem. He had different skill sets. I had different skill sets. We shared it here as a grand example of that, where I was showing him stuff on the editing side of things. But from that perspective, we decided to team up and work together. As you guys can see here, I've personally, scaled multiple different things throughout this process, but you guys can see here, I was more the business on the business side of things, as you can see here, payments and stuff like that on the sales side. And yeah, and you can see there's tons of different iteration of stuff that happened throughout this process, deals that closed, all sorts of stuff, because majority of our clients that we attracted throughout our marketing and different content strategies that we were deploying were mainly American, European, Australian, basically all around the world. We work with a lot of people, including places like India, etc., which was pretty interesting. But anyways, this was a really cool journey. I went on this path, and then I had the opportunity here, firstly, show you guys this here. This is the Self-Built Systems view of things here. We grew and we grew and we pushed and we kept our heads down in terms of what was happening at the same time when we were scaling Gifted. Obviously it's not the best thing ever to scale two businesses at the same time, because your focus will be diluted. But here I am at a IT company. As I can remember, they were an IT company focused, I can't remember exactly on what, but here we were consulting in terms of different systems processes on the growth side. And this also enabled some AI solutions there, as you guys can see there on the background. I don't know if I can zoom in there. But anyways, so this is Gideon, also a head marketer at a company called Wamley. We had some cool work that we done with them. And then here is one of our partners from Riyadh Capital in London. Here's one of the leading IT or rather cyber security firms in Italy. This Pietro, one of my good friends, and this guy is from Canada. He's a consulting, helping in the startup ecosystem space with funding and all sorts of different things. So yeah, here you guys can see there's tons of iteration, tons of growth. I want to actually just skip to the point, as you guys can see here, me engaging with a company called Modular Creator. But this is what happened. This is Self-Built Systems. We scale, we grew. There's different phases of iteration, different clients that we had going through here as we were focusing on AI and systemization. So here you guys can see here we have the Shugi.com, where I was headhunted to go and then scale this platform. I decided to actually embark on this challenge, as it's pretty tricky to scale any sort of dating app. And then we put a joke here. We didn't deploy the AI, the actually Indian strategy. We actually had some AI solutions, which you guys can go and learn about. How we discovered them, why we built them, different algorithmic solutions throughout dating platforms and applications. It was very hard, by the way, not easy at all. Excuse me. So if anyone ever tells you it's easy to do that, you might want to rethink that, okay? So we took the data that we were learning here and the industry, experts and stuff that we were meeting here throughout this process, and we played a little bit of a trump card move where we could then understand what other business we could deploy throughout this process, which gave us really a strong leverage based off of the technology which we had here. And then we could deploy different things into a different business model, which then scaled here, which is really, really cool. As you guys can see here, the founding, hard workers of the idea, which, everyone worked together. And then this allowed us to install a C-suite team, full C-suite team with a CEO that has recently, in her previous rodeo done a $40 million exit, which was pretty cool. I mean, this gentleman over here is from the USA. She's somewhere in Europe. I can't exactly remember what area. But this led me to then being promoted or to being placed, however you want to call it, as director of portfolio and strategy at a company called Solar Invest, which involves all of these different projects. And yeah, this led us to landing that really interesting deal with where all these people were involved in terms of DJI, Apple DJI, Google Starlink, Anglo America, etc. There was a lot of these involved, and here I want to quickly show you guys just for reference sake. This was actually a message from them. The whole team agrees that your company is the one to go with. Obviously in mayhem with discussions for on recessions and stuff. But anyways, was a process where we actually had to win the trust of the founder, prove that we could architect these different solutions as we were stating that we can. And yeah, like I said, we were competing with a leading bank there on the architectural and the development side of things. The leading bank actually went ahead and built the development side of things, and our team architected the solution on that. So that's what happened there. Just in terms of this. On those high-level engagements, it took us about 3 to 4 months to actually figure out what to build there. And yeah, because it was like a very big innovative solution. So just a last point here, this brought me to the perspective where I was really grateful for this opportunity and humble as it is to be able to go and work on a G20 B20 based problem where I was invited with my team personally to go and consult on this current problem, which is being addressed at the end of this year on the national level, which has been really cool and exciting problems to work on. So moving forward, the situational awareness, this is the decade ahead, what I want you to understand. Now, you cannot go and build anything in any environment without understanding the market in itself, the trends, and the situational awareness about the stuff that's happening so that we can understand where to build to. Whether you are on the doomer side or whether you are on the age of abundance side, that's what we're going to break down here. Really important paper here by Leopold, I cannot pronounce his second name. Really important for you to read that. Bunch of other papers which I will share with you guys just to wire your brains, effectively in terms of all this AI stuff that's happening. Really important AGI to ASI paper here, which was released by Daniel. Also can't pronounce his second name, but these gentlemen over here. Really important for you guys to go and check out these papers if you want to see these papers. Let me know in the comment section down below. Love to basically just send them over to you guys. Any of the data points that you guys will see here on these slides, all of them we have obviously curated from many different sources to actually be able to present this to you guys in terms of how we work, what we build, and how our protocols were actually built, and also a different thing called the cubicle platform, which I will share with you guys soon. So moving on to the next point here, and this brought us to writing our thesis. And the thesis covers everything. It is your guide. It is literally the compendium. We use it internally in our team, and we highly recommend other founders. Whether you're a beginner or whether you're doing 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it doesn't matter how much money you're doing in MRR, you have to understand this. We broke this down from the high level engagements that we have, from the enterprise level to the SMB level and to the beginner level. We chose to do it like this because in order for us to understand what we needed to be focusing on, we needed to understand how is it being solved for at each level of AI, right? And what does this mean? How can we present this to other people to really get our message over and to understand what it would look like, for you to do this on your own or with us. It doesn't really matter. So yeah, okay, so trends and current market situation. What I want you guys to understand here is that everyone's been aware of the big boom of ChatGPT. We're going to go through a lot of different data points really quickly because I want to really get to the point of what this would look like for you and your company in your specific situation. So bear with me on the data points because they are very important. And it's to me, it's not something you can just skip. You have to somehow, pause the video, maybe look at it if you're not aware of this data point. But if you are, simply move through. Let's get to the meat and the potatoes. So here we have charts that paint 1,000 words. A lot of these data points, if you guys see these blue charts, they are pulled from Mary Meeker from Bond. Mary Meeker and her team released these data points. Really important for capital optimization. Again, understanding what to build and how to deploy the capital into what direction. Now, this here is the global GDP last 1,000 plus years per Madison project. As you guys can see, this hockey stick, obviously, in terms of the stuff that happened. Now, As we move through, you can see the computing cycles. This I found really, really interesting in terms of really becoming aware of all these different data points. And 1998 all over again. Now, this is a point which I put together here. I was obviously not born in 1998, but in order to understand the future, you need to be able to also understand what happened in the past, and you need to understand evolution of technology. So in 1998, tapping into emerging market and internet access, for example, Google set out to organize the world's information and make it universally acceptable and useful. Now, nearly 3 decades later, after some of the fastest changes humankind have seen, a lot of information is indeed digitized, accessible, and useful. So the AI-driven evolution of how we access and move information is happening much faster. So AI is a compounder on internet infrastructure, which allows for wicked fast adoption of easy-to-use broad internet services. So this here is a screenshot from Andrei Karpovy. I really look up to a lot of the work that he does as not only as a human, but also how he's devoted and dedicated towards what he is solving for. So this here, again, is a data point. I have to give credit to Andrei Karpovy for obviously sharing this. It is a LLM OS. Now, as an operating system, you need to understand the kind of like the internal core of this brain that you will be using if you are building with LLMs, right? Whether you're building custom solution or whether you're building on top of LLMs as wrapper-based solutions or whatever, we still need to understand this thinking throughput for us to understand, what would be the best thing per project to build. Because you guys will see we have a process where we engage. It always starts from the founder's vision in terms of what the founder really wants to achieve. We can't go ahead and build amazing autonomous spaceships and stuff yet, by one flick of a button and everything is just automated. We have to realistically start at what we can build and build towards the future for before AGI hits, which is a big point which we will talk about. Because if you don't have these systems, if you don't have AGI or AI infrastructure first, you won't be able to plug into AI systems, and that will mean that you will, like, your legacy systems will be squeezed and wiped out. And that will mean, obviously, you can do the math on that, right? Let's move forward. So here we have hard to match ever. So this is simply just ChatGPT plus user subscription plus revenue growth. As you guys can see there, you should be aware of all these different things. So here we have years to 100 million users, AI systems performance. Obviously, we've seen most of these. You should be aware of them. And here we have quarterly earnings calls to mention on the S&P 500 companies, as they're focusing on deploying AI solutions. Here we have minutes per day USA active users spent on the ChatGPT app. And obviously here we have percentage of employed USA adults using AI chatbots. Now, a new class of AI is emerging, less assistant, more service provider. So what began as a basic conversational interface may now be evolving into something far more capable. So traditional chatbots were designed to respond to user prompts, often within rigid scripts or narrow flows. Now, that could fetch answers, summarize text, or mimic conversation, but always in a reactive, limited frame. Now, an AI agent represents a step forward towards change. These are intelligent, long-running processes that can reason, act, and complete multi-step tasks on a user's behalf. So they don't just answer questions, they execute booking of the meeting, submitting of reports, logging into the tools, and or orchestrating workflows across platforms, often using natural language as their command layer. So the shift mirrors a broader historical pattern in technology. So just as the early 2000s saw static websites give way to dynamic web applications, where tools like Gmail and Google Maps transformed the internet from a collection of pages into a set of utilities. So AI agents are turning conversational interfaces into functional infrastructure, whereas early assistants needed clear inputs and produced narrow outputs. Agents promise to operate with goals, autonomy, and certain guardrails. So they promise to interpret intent, manage memory, and coordinate across apps to get real work done. It's less about responding and more about accomplishing. Now, while we are early in the development of these agents, the implications are just starting to emerge. AI agents could reshape how users interact with digital systems. So an example here, which I will probably mention 1 or 2 times, is that our front door is changing. Your traffic will still come from somewhere, but your front door, in terms of like how that first interaction digitally will happen with your company, maybe they'll find your LinkedIn, maybe they'll find your Instagram or whatever. It doesn't really matter. But when they find your digital interface, they will have a agent-facing interface, as you will have like Ask GPT or ChatGPT, which will change the nature of it, because now we will no longer just have a form. Maybe we will have a step 1 form, and then the second step is just your agent interfacing thing. This is still being figured out right now, right? What is the optimal standpoint to do it? But this is the active changing state that's happening. So here we are seeing all these different things happen. So enterprises are leading the change. They're not just experimenting with agents, but deploying them. Investors, they're basically investing in frameworks and building ecosystems, really key point there, around autonomous execution. What was once a messaging interface is now becoming an action layer. All right, so this is what we're seeing. Here's some more data points here. Now, the next level for AI, which is artificial general intelligence. Now, I've briefly mentioned it. Now, artificial general intelligence refers to systems capable of performing the full range of human intellectual tasks, reasoning, planning, learning from small data samples, and generalized knowledge across the domain. Now, unlike current AI models, which excel with specific boundaries, AGI would be able to operate fully flexible across disciplines and solve unfamiliar problems without retraining. So it represents a major milestone in AI development, one that builds on recent exponential gains in model scale, training data, and computational efficiency. There is also something called the singularity effect, which we will speak about a little bit later. So the singularity effect simply just means that we have now reached this point in AI development where our minds can no longer, our human brains can no longer keep up with the speed of AI development and the processing of all that information, right? Which is causing many different problems, which I call problems that are bigger than AI when it comes to humans. But now we have to understand what that relationship means, because if the speed of development is faster for our brains to keep up, what do we actually focus on? You know, where does our time and focus go? So now timelines on AGI remains uncertain, but expert expectations have shifted forward, meaningfully in years. So Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, remarked in January 2025, "We are now confident we know how to build AGI." Now, this has been said multiple times, but it's getting closer, obviously, the point. In that 2027 paper, who knows? It might be 3 months from now, it might be 6 months from now, it might be a year from now. But you will need the infrastructure to build AI systems, or you will need your own company AI strategy first, then you will need your own company AI infrastructure to be able to build these AI systems. But if you don't have them as the baseline basics, you will not even be able to plug into AGI, which I mentioned, right? That will be a big problem. So the broader threat is clear. AI development is trending. I've mentioned it as at unprecedented speeds. So if we achieve AGI, it would redefine what software can do and also related hardware. So rather than executing pre-programmed tasks, AGI systems would understand goals, generate plans, and self-correct in real time. So they could drive research, engineering, education, and logistic workflow with little to no human oversight, handling ambiguity and novelty with general purpose reasoning. So these systems wouldn't require extensive retraining to handle new problem on domains. They would transfer learning and operate with context much like human experts. So additionally, humanoid robots powered by AGI would have the rover to reshape our physical environment and how we operate in it. And I find it personally very interesting. Outside of Chief Elon, all the other billionaires that are solving, there are so many billionaires that are solving for the robotic side of things, right? So that's a bit scary too. Now, AI users plus usage capex, AI user plus usage plus capex growth is unprecedented. Now, usually when I talk about this part here, CFOs smile big, or I don't know, CFO or investors, you know, they really like the terminology. But anyways, let's move forward. So to understand where technology capex is heading, it helps to look at where it's been. So over the past 2 decades, tech capex has flexed upwards at points through data long arcs. So first towards storage access, then towards distribution scale, and now towards computational intelligence. So the earliest wave saw capex pouring into building internet infrastructure, massive server farms, undersea cables, and early data centers that enabled Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and other to lay foundations for cloud computing. That was the first phase: store it, organize it, then serve it. So the second wave is still unfolding, as it has been about supercharging compute for data-heavy AI workloads and natural evolution of cloud computing. So hyperscaler capex budgets is now tilted increasingly towards specialization, specialized chips, GPUs, TPUs, and AI accelerators. So liquid cooling and frontier data design. Now in 2019, AI was a research future. By 2023, it was a capital expenditure line item. So Microsoft Vice Chair Brad Smith put it well in a blog post: like electricity and other general purpose technologies in the past, AI and cloud data centers represents the next stage in industrialization. So the biggest tech companies are spending tens of billions annually, not just to gather the data, but to learn from it. And this is a point where we will talk about your cost per acquisition is still going to be important. Your relationship between your CAC and your ROAS, as Mr. Fantastic refers to it, the Shark Tank, Mr. Fantastic. But however, in my opinion, now that equation is still important, and again we will talk about that. But your cost per intelligence will now become important. How you actually go ahead and use the data, like how intelligently do you use these data points, right? And you capture them and how to use them. So it's all about data, but the advantage goes to who can train on it and personalize it the deepest and deploy it the widest. So AI model compute cost high, rising / plus inference cost per token failing equals performance converging plus developer usage rising. Now we've seen these different examples in terms of AI developer use cases. There's been a ton of them. And here too, the agent examples. Now recently we've seen Agent, an actual thing called Agent from OpenAI, which has been released. And all these other ones, just as prior example of the AI that's being deployed. Now, big question is, what does this look like for me in my business, Jay? So AI monetization, we need to understand the AI monetization possibilities, looking from the enterprise, horizontal platforms, or specialized software is usually kind of the question that's being asked, because that's why I said we had to first understand what this looked like at the enterprise level, then at the SMB level, and then at the beginner level, right? So we're going to dive more into SMB and the enterprise stuff because, it's on the building forefront. I have recently done a video, which is like, I think, an hour and a half long video explaining what the beginning cycle looks like for people if you work with us from the beginning standpoint of things or want to do it yourself. So to understand where the value is being created and where things are evolving, we need to understand where enterprise AI monetization is heading. It helps to ask where software itself is consolidating, right? Now, for decades, business software followed a familiar pattern. So that pattern used to sound like this. So build a specialized tool, sell it to a narrow user base, and then scale up within a vertical. Now, this was the age of vertical SaaS. So Toasts for restaurants, Guideware for insurance, and then Viva for life sciences. So each tool solved a deep and narrow problem. But with the rise of foundational models and generative AI, others are gunning for the prizes. So enter the horizontal enterprise platforms and like horizontal layers that combine. So AI native productivity, search communication, and knowledge management into one unified interface. So you can kind of think of this as like the Slack meets Notion meets ChatGPT all in one platform. So horizontal enterprise platforms could usher in new form of monetization, not by selling the siloed software licenses, but by charging for intelligence. Remember when I said cost per intelligence, right? Now, embedded throughout the stack, the value shifts from tools to outcomes, from CRMs to automated deal summaries, and from service desks to AI-powered workflows. Please read that again or listen to that again. So these horizontal capabilities are still early, but they are already being harnessed by incumbents and upstarts alike. And those are different examples. You should be probably aware of them. Now, but specialist vendors aren't standing still. If anything, they're absorbing AI faster, embodied co-pilots, automating workflows, and fine-tuning models on proprietary data. So these platforms already have the workflows, the trust, and the structured data that thrives on it, that gives them a head start in deploying domain-specific intelligence. So AI doesn't just summarize meetings, it flags regulatory risk, optimizes pricing in real time, or drafts FDA-compliant documents. In many cases, their incumbency becomes their advantage. They can roll out AI features, not as a product, but or monetize it without changing the buying motion. So the next chapter of AI monetization may not be a winner-take-all battle, but a convergence of the horizontal platforms that will push brief stitching together knowledge across functions. Specialists will push depth, delivering AI that speaks the language of compliance, contracts, and intent. So the question isn't whether platforms or specialists will win. It's who can abstract the right layer, own the interface, and capture the logic of work itself. So in the AI era, monetization won't just follow the usage. It will follow attention, context, and control. One more valuable point that I want us to cover before we commit to building anything in the age of AI, and not even talking about super intelligence or AGI, is the following. Thanks to the rise of low-cost satellite-driven internet connectivity / the access to the potential of 2.6 billion, which is also 32% of the world's population, that is not only to come online, which is only increasing, right? So these new users will start from scratch with AI functionality. Now, obviously, that is a wowie. So when these new users will come online, they likely won't be met by a browser, and this is the talking point which I mentioned earlier, and search bars. They will start with an AI and its native language. So imagine a first experience of the internet that doesn't involve typing a query into a search engine, but instead talking to a machine that talks back, right? As we all go, we punch in the chatGPT, we work back and forth to achieve a certain goal. Agents are obviously running to the point semi-autonomously, which you can achieve similar things. Just a conversation for another time, which we'll get to. But anyway, so image first experience, imagine a first experience, which I said, of the front door, which is changing, right? So imagine skipping the traditional application layer entirely with an agent-driven interface, managing the disparate tech platforms from one place while understanding user local language, context, and intent. So an agent-first internet experience could upend existing technical hierarchies and disintermediating dominant platforms and redistributing the value. So in this model, the winners wouldn't be those ones who own the app, but those who win or own the interface. Now, AI is foundationally changing the way we work. Alongside the growth in physical automation, think about the adoption of the robots, drones, and we are now also seeing the rise of the cognitive automations where AI systems can reason, create, and solve problems. The ramifications are widespread. So the pace of the improvements and AI cognitive ability is also obviously astounding, right? Now, in the 3 years since the ChatGPT's launch, we've gone from the reasoning capabilities of a high school student to those of PhD candidates, professional centered in taking large bodies of structured historical data and rule-based decisions or judgment fall squarely into the core competency of generative AI. So in this emerging landscape, a unit of labor could shift from human hours to computational power. You still need to pay your agents something, right? They don't complain like humans. They don't need to sleep like humans. Less HR problems, right? Anyways, but you still need to pay your droids stuff. Okay, so the emerging landscape of unit, we talked about that. As a result, some of the tout of the agentic future where AI agents replace humans in many white-collar jobs and many other places, by the way. Although possibly history and pattern recognition suggest that the role of humans is enduring and compelling, technology forward leaps have typically driven productivity and efficiency gains and more but new jobs. That said, this time it's happening a lot faster. I have personally talked with people that have been in tech for more than 30 to 35 plus years, and even they have never ever seen a tech like this, a speedy evolution like this. So in an extreme, entirely agentic future, humans maintain a role in the system, pivoting towards oversight, guidance, and training. So imagine facilities filled with humans teaching robots intrinsic movements, or offices filled with workers providing reinforcement learning, RLHF, to optimize their algorithms. And this is not the conjecture. You can already go and see all the different examples which China has been releasing. Now, companies like Physical Intelligence and Scale AI respectively are building powerful businesses based on this view of the world. We've also seen recently what Mark Zuckerberg's plan is with his super intelligence team. He went ahead and poached all these leading AI researchers, and including the Scale AI, right? Now, that's very, very important. Now we have to ask ourselves why. What's this going to lead to, right? Now, the idea of the human workforce reconfigured to teach and refine machines as primary functions might sound dystopic, but it's worth remembering historical parallels. 50 years ago, the prospect of rows of cubicles and uniformed office workers sitting quietly in front of LED computers 10 hours a day likely sounded equally dystopic. Yet here we are. So technology has consistently redefined and evolved the nature of work and productivity, and AI is no different. So software is changing. Really, really big point, because here we are getting to the meat and the potatoes, right? Now here also another data point from Andrei Karpov, where he broke down software 1.0, software 2.0, software 3.0, and also the thinking in terms of where we are going, how much code will be rewritten and stuff like that, right? There's a visual of this code that will be rewritten. And the question here is why do we care? We care because once I understood all of this, going through the motion of what intelligence firstly is, then understanding to a point what artificial intelligence is, because intelligence in itself, there was a French AI researcher that put it this way, which was the best ever explanation of intelligence that I've heard, is our ability to interpret new sources of information, put it to work, error correct on those pieces of information to be able to drive forward. That's it's not directly coded towards what he said, but it meant a lot to me. You guys can go check it out. There's a lot of his stuff online. I can't really remember what his name is. Point is, once you understand basics of that principle, and once you understand how information is also distributed and processed, then we can take a step towards closer what artificial intelligence is, because now we take that understanding and then we understand what to build. That's where the thesis points comes from, right? For us to understand this. And I will read this here for you. It says, generative AI is the electricity. Proprietary, well-arranged data is the grid that pays the dividends. AI architecture is the high voltage circuitry that channels the current, and the AI systems is the precision turbines that spins it into compounding profit. Now, obviously, this whole electricity talk, it's a commodity in itself, so that's why we need to understand where to start, right, and what to build. So LLM as the engine, the brain, or however you want to view this, right? So you can see all these different examples in these different sectors. We've also worked with many of these, right? If not all of them, in terms of solutions that we've been able to help customers with. Now, advantages here when we are building with the LLM as the engine, right? You have automation without much manual effort. You have faster prototyping, you have code generation, you have making sense of large data, and you have accelerated knowledge discovery and lower support cost. This then brings us to the LLMs have the proprietary of operating systems. So if you look at LLMs, they are increasingly complex software ecosystems, not just simple commodities like electricity. So LLMs are software, trivial to copy and paste, manipulate, change, distribute, open source, steal, not physical infrastructure. So some amount of switching friction due to different features, performance, style, capabilities, etc. per domain. Now, this is again this photo which I already walked you guys through. You guys can maybe just take a screenshot of this in terms of this, because it's going to become more and more important as we're moving towards building with LLMs and also the custom lens of things. So here is the following. So you can run an app like VS Code on Windows 10 to 11, Linux, etc., Mac, just like you can run LLM app on a cursor. So GPT-03, Claude 4.0, and obviously Gemini 2.0. You guys get the point, right? So 1950s to 1970s time-sharing era. So we are in the mainframe time-sharing era of computing, centralized, expensive computers. So the operating system runs in the cloud. The Internet of Things is streamed back and forth over the network, and the compute is batched over the users. Now, I've mentioned the singularity effect, but I am going to quickly make my point here in terms of why I mentioned it. So our brains cannot keep up. I've mentioned this. The speed of advancement is now outpacing human processing, and this it's basically sprinting into the future where the rules are being rewritten in real time. So here's a paper called the Absolute Zero Reinforcement and Self-Play Reasoning with Zero Data. Now listen to the following here. So reinforcement learning with verifiable rewards has shown a promise in enhancing the reasoning capabilities of large language models by leaning directly from a outcome-based rewards. Recent RLVR works that operate under zero setting to avoid supervision in labeling and in reasoning processes, but still depend on manual curated collections of questions and answers from training. So the scarcity of high quality human process examples raises concerns about the long-term scalability of relying on human supervision, a challenge already evident in the domain of language models pre-training. Furthermore, in a hypothetical future where AI systems surpass the human intelligence, tasks provided by humans may offer limited learning potential for super intelligent systems. That's this whole AI conversation on the AGI, right? So to address these concerns, we propose a new RLVR learning basically paradigm called the Absolute Zero, in which a single model learns to propose a task, maximize its own learning progress, and improve reasoning by solving them without relying on any external data. Now there's also 2 or 3 other extracts which I put in here just for reference sake. Now, opportunities in AI, they're everywhere, right? Not just opportunities, but AI systems is also everywhere. So with that being said, again, the question is, where do I focus? What do we build? There's so many different tools. Every week there's a new thing that's coming out, or a new piece of news, or a new AI development paper. Like literally, I see a new paper every single day, right? Now, AI enterprise application snapshots here, which is super important here, just to have, again, a sense of awareness of what already has been built, what companies are leading what, in terms of like search, image, data, video, and then healthcare, legal, bio, etc. Just so you can understand, what's already happening now and different things that are possible. So how will you capitalize on these AI opportunities to redefine your edge? When we look at this, we have to look at it from the system's components. So every AI system is made of these components. So you have a conversational AI. So you scale your communication layer, which is etc. 24/7 chatbots, voice agent, WhatsApp qualifiers. Then you have your AI tools, which you enhance human judgment and creative tasks. So here you have your sales intelligence, your brand copy, and then your content repurposing. Obviously, content systems via AI is a big thing right now, and also really important for your cost per acquisition, which we will talk about a little bit later. Then you have your workflow automation. So you eliminate repetitive work, CRM updates, invoicing, documentation, automation. So these are your tools, but they alone don't build systems, and they alone don't build moats. So here, this is the lens, your guide for applying the right AI tools to the right parts of any business. So here we're going to look at the core. Now you have the outer layer. Firstly, actually, let's start with the outer layer. Outer layer, you have custom interface, you have touch points with leads and customers, goal, more reach, more conversation, more revenue, powered by conversational AI. So then in terms of the middle layer, you have the employee and slash operations, where humans use intelligent judgment and creativity. So goal here would be to empower teams to do 10x more. And you have AI powered tools. Then you have on your core and the inside of the business. How do you bake it into the inside of the business? You have foundational repeatable processes that must run perfectly. So goal here is to automate back-end grunt work powered by workflow automation. Okay? Now, the AI Fortress, a strategic platform for dominance in the new economic warfare. Now, it sounds really cool. I thought it was, really cool when we were writing this, but the whole point is that a lot of the stuff that's been thrown at us, right? That's been on like big media or traditional media. They're basically telling us that it's a downturn, it's a correction, it's a geopolitical realignment, and they're simply distracting us from the truth. This isn't a cycle; it's a demolition. The biggest wealth transfer in history is happening right now. You can look at the adoption of the technology in terms of crypto, how crypto is peaking at this moment of me making this video. And today's date of me making this video is the 29th of July. Okay, and understand also where crypto is lying and how the market has adjusted and shifted to crypto, how different policies have been created, right? Now, ask yourself that question, like why is all these things coming together? So right now, 96% of businesses are still positioned. 96% of businesses are still positioned on the wrong side of it. While you're watching markets and drone strikes, you're missing the cloaked war. So this isn't a new kind of war. This is actually a new kind of war, not fought with armies or drones or midnight hammers, but with algorithms, and not on battlefields, but on servers that power the global economy. So the crumbling moats of yesterday. Now, for generations, you were told to build moats. It was the gospel of the Omaha Omaha, in terms of Warren Buffett. The gospel was written for a world that no longer exists. Obviously, distribution channels is a thing that we really believe in based on our thesis, which we validated. Even like, because Cluely, Roy Lee from Cluely put out a thesis recently, or his talking points he shared, and we did this in 2024 when we scaled the Gifted Academy. My business partner Timon, he was going viral. We were iterating the offer based on what the market and also the audience wanted from us. So that's basically a similar style of thinking. But anyways, today your brand built over decades can be cloned overnight by generative AI. That's the point, right? Or a kid in Manila just stealing your idea. Now you exclusively have distribution channels that can be outmaneuvered by a single autonomous AI system, which is where the AI content comes in, that can operate 24/7 with zero fatigue. So your economies of scale, once a fortress, have now become a prison, a liability that slows you down in a world that demands hyper agility. So everything you were taught about defense is now becoming your biggest vulnerability. The very fortress you built is now becoming a tomb if we don't evolve, if we don't adapt. So the toaster fallacy, the existential threat you do not see. The thing is this, the frontier labs, the OpenAIs of the world, the Claudes, the Googles, they are selling you toasters. So shiny, intelligent appliances that can write an email or generate an image, which is, great, helps with a lot of stuff, but it's not the thing. So, and for your business, in terms of this transformation, it's maybe step one, but, we need to think about this deeper. So maybe even your own team is obsessed with building slightly better toasters, which is always great, but it's not where your moat lies. So the value is never in the appliance, it's in the grid. This is in the infrastructure that generates the channels and the distribution power. While you are thinking of fine-tuning a model, your competitors are building the power plant. And this is where the threat becomes existential. Your proprietary data, your secret sauce that you've guarded for years, your own internal analysts are asking questions like how valuable will your proprietary data be when your competitors, infinitely smart, infinitely patient agents can estimate it from public data? So the answer is it will be worthless. The game has changed. Competing at the model layer is a fool's errand unless you have billions of dollars. So the real battle, the only battle that matters, is for the system. Now, the part on the AI fortress on architecting your defensible future is simple. If the old modes are gone and the new AI that you're building is just a toaster, how do you survive? How do you win? You stop by buying appliances and you build the fortress. A fortress built not on code, but on AI systems. Not on data, but on intelligence. Obviously, your data mode is still important, how you use that, but what does that actually turn into? Now, this is the core of our master thesis, which I have read to you guys, right? It is a living, learning ecosystem that compounds your advantage with early single interactions on every cloaked cycle. It's the machine that keeps getting smarter and smarter. So, but this kind of infrastructure can't be bought off of the shelf. It must be forged. This isn't about plugging into an API. This is about alchemy. Every great company has a unique DNA, a secret sauce, but it is not your data logs or your CRM. It is embodied labor of your best people. Now, this is also where our Cubicle platform comes in, which you guys will learn about more soon. The informational workflows that never gets written down, the gut feeling of your top salesperson when they know a deal is going to close, and the unspoken heuristic of the best engineer that solves the impossible problems. Also your best marketing people when it comes to their, split testing processes. So, your company's data, how to turn that into a weapon. So the institutional genius in your real proprietary assets, right? And it is bleeding out of your company every day. Now, again, this is why I said this is where our Cubicle platform comes in connection with our ASAP protocol. It is designed to do one thing, to make the master, it's to be the master alchemist of your business. We extract informal embodied knowledge. We interview your operators with AI to codify their intuition through our Cubicle platform, which is an AI platform. We systemize it and we forge it into a team of autonomous AI systems/agents that can think, act with combined wisdom of your entire organization. And we turn your company's soul into a weapon. So this leads us to the battleground of the application layer. So forging reliable LLM-powered systems and or custom AI systems. When we build with LLMs, we have a few challenges. And now you guys might be aware of most of these challenges, or you might have never even heard of them. I'm pretty sure you've heard of like hallucination, because every single second marketer or person is talking about hallucinations and some bits and pieces on how you can address it. But these are some challenges which we're going to quickly run through. I'm not going to do a deep dive into these challenges. You guys simply can become aware of them, and also let me know if there's a challenge that you want me to actually break down, maybe in a next video, etc. So challenge number one, we have model size and cost performance. So bigger models are better in performance. So you have GPT-2, 1.5 billion. Obviously, there's different variations of this in terms of GPT-3, etc. But you have your API calls does not work everywhere, and it is a running expense. And models love to talk more, even ask for less, increasing generated tokens. Now, we have hallucination. There's a bunch of different hallucination examples and different data points, which you guys can check out here. And as we go through this hallucination examples. And then we have safety. Safety is a massive thing, in terms of data bandits or data leaks and all sorts of different things that happens on the safety side of things. I mean, here's different examples of what that could look like for you. And then also a prompt hacking techniques. There's a bunch of different ones like that, which you should be aware of. And I mean, there's these guys that have the job to jailbreak certain things, right? Or they go out of the way to jailbreak things. Now you have challenge number 3 and safety threats. We have the reasoning. Okay, this should be a very known one that's thrown around on the internet. Long context, error tracking, inheritance, which just simply means traditional machine learning systems have their long standing point limitations. Processing ambient context. It's all about the historical patterns, biases, and fairness. It's about people, not models, etc. And then hype. I guess I also don't need to talk about this one. We've all seen Sam Altman's hype man skills, and the AI bingo of AI words has been thrown around. So that's great, Jay. But show me, what does this actually mean for me, or what does this look like for me and my company? So in order for us to clearly understand and to show you exactly what this will look like for you and your company, we will start with the following. we will start with our Cubicle platform. We will be enabling you to take basically all these systems and processes that you already deploy. We will talk to some of your team members. There will be 1 to 2 day workshops that we will be engaging with on the AI systemization side for us to actually extract certain data points, and then to be able to build and help you build real world purpose driven applications or systems, right? Or businesses in this case. Now, for us to reach this point, to really understand what your solution must be like, what the best thing to deploy your capital into must be, we're going to start at your data processes, which I've briefly mentioned to you. But then you need your AI architecture, you need your AI systems, you need your AI ecosystems, and then you need your viral content systems, which will plug into your whole ecosystem. And then essentially you have AI systems that run your business. Okay. So this is a smaller, a 4-step process, which I will show you guys here, which we will break down now fully. So again, we're going to look at your data, then we're going to deploy our data-driven architecture protocols. We're going to look at revenue acceleration through agentic systems, and then the competitive tech moat building, and then quantum efficient growth. From that perspective, here is a screenshot of that, which I will quickly walk you guys through. All right, so as you guys can see, this is a visual representation of what it's going to look like when we are going to be engaging. I'm going to start here with the bird's eye vision of the ASAP protocol. Now here we're going to go through a few phases for us to reach. It will depend on where you are at as a business owner, whether you are a beginner, whether you're generating 5 figures or whether you're generating above 7 figures. Usually when it's above 7 figures, we move towards more of these end phases and, moving to the AI factory side of things, where we can actually orchestrate agents, deploy some context engineering and stuff that you will learn about soon. Now here we have the following. I'm just going to quickly run through this so you can see a visual representation. We have the holistic data mastery, which is data-driven architecture protocols. Then we have phase 2, which is full funnel conversion. Now you have the old school funnel conversion, and then you have to understand what this looks like when we are doing it through the AI native lens. We are still going to be finding low-hanging fruits that we can obviously work on first, which will allow us to build that momentum. And finally, to the point where we have done some full funnel CRO and also looking at the AI systemizations approach, where we have rapid AI systems testing programs, which we're going to be going through. And also, which is very, very important here, we have the phase 4, which is the architecture, systems and growth strategy, which we're going to go through there. But again, we want to reach this point here where we can actually orchestrate the agent solutions, where they are moving towards the agentic layer. And here we have just the 7 to 9 figure situation, or more like this is an upper class kind of case study, where I have broken down firstly this case study. So if you wanted to understand more about how we were able to land this deal and what involved in this deal, how we were able to work alongside teams from this caliber, then you can see basically this is a problem set that was discovered. So usually with AI systems or with AI in general, what you would have is, for an example, something like ChatGPT. You have the human, you have the interface, and then you have output. But in this case, our problem set that we were facing with, we had 2 humans, and humans have a bias, right? And then we have the AI, and then we have the desired outcome. So if you can think about this also through a deal making lens, it will kind of make sense in terms of when you have to make a deal, going back and forth. It's not that easy, right? To navigate it when you're working with like a massive company, like really bigger company, and have to do a deal with a small company, how they will squeeze them, the biases, all that kind of stuff which is involved. So think about it that way. That's just the iteration here for what we call the AI systems mafia. Okay, so here is the first step, second step, and then third step as we will be engaging. But what will it look like from a kickoff standpoint? We're going to look at your domain expertise, your domain data. Reason why I want to say this and make this point again is that AI, it basically anything that can be simulated, it can be automated through the AI lens. So that is what we're going to be looking at. It doesn't scale niches, it scales patterns. And patterns exist in our everyday life through our different workflows. Now, here we have your data that will be put into our black box. Black box is just another word for our cubicle platform. It's an actual AI platform which we built to facilitate this whole process. And then we're going to look at your qualitative, your quantitative data, and all sorts of different data flows that you have in your processes. Again, depending on where you are throughout this life cycle, how much revenue you're doing, etc., how much money you're spending into R&D. We're going to look at your niche anyways. We're going to find a unique gap existing in the market where we're going to connect the AI lens to it and really understand what can we do to drive more leverage through AI. Then we're going to help you build a unique mechanism. If you already have them, great. We're going to help you upgrade them towards the standard of what they should be on. And then we're going to look at your attention acquisition. This is probably one of the most important things, even if you zoom out with all the stuff that we're doing, because our thesis, and I will say this again, last year got validated in terms of my business partner, Timon, that was scaling his content, right? And we then had a different offer where we were, so firstly, scaled a front-end offer, and then we pivoted and iterated the offer based on this virality, right? Based on this attention that we were generating throughout this process. So that's something you can look at there too. And then we are going to do this through AI content systems and also a personal branding lens. And then we're going to look at AI systems for the sales process. Here on the attention acquisition, I want you to understand that even your top sales guys will need a personal brand. Even your top marketing guys will need a personal brand. In the Roy Lee thesis, the company or Roy built Cluely, they even have a rule on marketing perspective. If your marketing person doesn't have a set amount of followers, then you just shouldn't hire them as your CMO. The game has changed. It's all about that social media cycle now. It's also a point which the shark, Mr. Fabulous, or if I can remember it correctly, I think it was him that said the exact same thing. If he invests in companies, whether I've said this or not, I'm going to say this again. When he invests in companies, he first goes and he looks at this social media footprint, right? What's that personal branding like? What is the output of the distribution strategy? Now, yeah, let's move on to the following. Roy Lee and them also bought like 10,000 TikTok accounts, but that's a conversation for another time. So let's go into this and let's look at what we are faced with here. So I have broken this down into a deeper ideation if you want to go and check that out. It's on the previous video that we've done. But we want to reach the point here where we are going to be orchestrating. So we're going to go through all of these phases and data-driven protocols as have been outlined, from the data-driven architecture to the revenue acceleration through agentic systems to the competitive moat building, as we break down each and every single one step by step to enable us to go and build these AI systems. When we're going to get into the agent developing lifecycle, it's also very important that we understand the old school software bro thinking. Now, again, I'm going to highlight the problem. The reason why I say old school software bro thinking is because old school vendors, they themselves, they don't mean you harm, they themselves are trying to figure this out. And throughout this process, you know, someone will get hurt because they can't keep up. And if they can't keep up, then who do you trust? You need an AI specialist. You need specialists that work on architecture and infrastructure. Well, in this case, architecture, because infrastructure is a whole nother conversation. But you need the architectural expertise in order to understand how to architect this AI that you need to deploy into your systems, and how it will work, etc., etc. And those are two different lines of thinking. That's why I put the agent development lifecycle here, and also looking at the present day. All right, yeah. So let's get right to this orchestration example, as I have shown in the previous video, but I will just quickly show this again just for context. We want to reach the point where your whole organization is orchestrated through the AI native lens. When you're going to do things AI native first, I'm going to show you guys what that would also look like. There's different protocols that we will be engaging there, but here we have industry-specific collection of the data, real-time analysis and predictive insight. Then you have the automated execution and decision-making, and then you have the continuous optimization and improvement with your human in the loop. That flow changes a bit. You have the machine to the human layer, which is going to be important here on the point which I make there. But another very, very important point is you're going to learn something called A2A protocol, MCP, context engineering, like I mentioned, all those different aspects for you, either where we're going to help you install that into your team, where you're going to have your own AI department. Every company will need an AI department, or we're simply going to help you build them, or you can just do it on your own. Doesn't really matter. It is, however, a very dark and drilling process. So yeah, I hope that makes sense in terms of what I showed you guys, because the last little iteration here, and I will talk about this a little bit later again. But here, once we are going to be engaged, you're going to have a specific AI specialist that is going to be dedicated towards per project that we work on. Then we have our AI machine learning teams that work together with the AI specialist. And then we have our data scientist and we have our software development ops. We have some of the best guys in our team when it comes to the machine learning, really, really good guys. And then obviously in terms of, all the other processes are full stack teams that you need to get all of this stuff done, where we're going to plug into our Cubicle platform. The Cubicle platform with the AI systems protocol is the most important thing when it comes to actually understanding how we derive your data, how we take all of this data and we turn it into actual solutions. And then you have the business systems optimization, AI orchestration, etc., etc. So let's go back. All right, so here is a little bit of a snapshot in terms of a viral AI content system. Now, this is based off of short form content. As you guys will see here, it is a little bit messy, but I'm going to quickly pull up the other example, which is actually inside of the N8N. N8N has its own ecosystem of building these agent-based solutions, but it is not always the best thing that we recommend people do. However, based on budget and also, where you are in the life cycle, there are different solutions which we can cater for throughout this process. So here we're going to look in terms of the AI content viral system for LinkedIn. I mean, it's really cool. If you're a LinkedIn bro and you rely off of LinkedIn bro marketing and you believe in that, then we're going to help you set the stage. Whether you're very much a B2B kind of person, depends on how you're selling, building that human connection on LinkedIn. The human connection on LinkedIn. But anyways, that's a conversation for another time. I am not a LinkedIn bro, definitely not. So here we have master outbound agent. We're going to be looking at in terms of you having a agent embedded into your full sales process. This again is also built with N8N. However, there is also a custom path of doing this, but that is again looking into the core of your business. This here is not baking it into the core of your business. I want you guys really to understand that. But again, it depends on where we are throughout this whole life cycle. But I'm just showing this for some context and reference, because I need you guys to see this from a visual perspective. So this is what it will look like inside of the N8N ecosystem. I mean, the bit of more of a clear version of what we're looking at. At the end of the day, it's going towards the short form content platforms, and there's a sequence that flows in terms of like what style of content, what the output of the content is, the prompts, all those kind of things, how it's engineered, and then for you to pump out short form content. This is really important for businesses that basically have like you have a redundant content strategy, or you want to improve your content strategy. This can help a lot with different variations of this. Generating AI-driven content will help you bring down your CAC and many other different things throughout this process, which, it's a whole nother video for another time. So here we have the outbound agent for sales. Now, this is going to be full cycle in terms of what we're going to looking at, all the way from the data scraping. Once you obviously have scraped the data, it needs to be, filtered. And from the filtering perspective, then as you can see here, there is a company profile data scraper, and then there is a email scraper and a social media link scraper. Now, obviously, to get that nicely sorted in terms of the personalization process, which will happen after that, verify and enrich leads, and then all the way to the sending of the first liners. You can obviously see the flows and stuff here. Anyway, so to streamline your lead acquisition and engagement, you can integrate industry-leading tools that automate data enrichment and email discovery and outreach. So here are some options in terms of that, right? So that is this master outbound agent over here. Now, again, I want you to think full cycle. Usually, if I'm just simply giving someone advice that's like an auditor or like position like you're a lawyer inside of a firm or an auditor inside of any other workplace, it's usually you want to find out. Step level 1 thinking is find out what you can automate using existing tools and then present that to your boss, right? But this is, we're here more talking to bosses right now. So at the end of the day, the thinking is, it still applies, but it's not, all the way kind of thinking. It's to understand where we're driving the highest value inside of the organization. So data first architecture protocols, I've ran you guys through this. This is just a smaller view in terms of what that would look like in the Cubicle platform. And finally, the SMB to enterprise. So complete AI transformation systems that include, I've showed you guys the agent view, right? We want to drive towards the fuller ecosystem view of the agents orchestrated and working together. Then we have the explanation of the revenue through autonomous AI systems. The autonomous AI systems and agentic design patterns. There's a few of them if you're not familiar or aware of these. And then finally, the AI systems when you're building your competitive moat. So you had your traditional moats. I've explained this. I've walked you guys through this. And now you will finally go from your old systems into leaner teams, higher output per employee. So higher energy and higher output per employee, more profit per employee, less overhead, that kind of thing, higher efficiency levels. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I've already mentioned this. It's very important just for you to remember this. Now, in 2025, the competitive advantage comes from having the smartest, most autonomous AI systems / agents. However, obviously that is derived from your data strategy and your AI architecture all the way to the agentic systems that you will be deploying. And then finally, the new Wild West. So I don't want you to get robbed by data bandits. So this is, it's wild. I mean, I've pulled it up in terms of like the challenges that we will be facing, when we're building with LLMs or the custom path, whatever that might look like. The divide is really, really big between laggers and laggards. And we have this one goal and the sole purpose to help you build purpose-driven AI, but to help you firstly redefine your competitive leading edge and help you build that purpose-driven AI to not just stay ahead of the market, but to help you redefine that edge and to help you have thermal vision so you can understand where and what to build based on all of our expertise, our data points, and our protocols, so that you also can defeat bad guy AI. Here is a bit of a view in terms of data points on, just in terms of what's happening. So the question really is, what side of the history will you be on? In terms of our case studies, where we have been able to drive a lot of value in different sectors, and it's been many different like cross-connecting industries. So we have industrial and infrastructure and mining, agriculture and ag tech, enterprise and tech, regulated sectors, healthcare, insurance, legal and compliance, and consumer services. These are some of the feedback from influencers, top 1% influencers, to companies that we have worked alongside, from my friend Aldesaf, to Anas, to Edgar's, to Petiro, to Janse, all sorts of different environments and unique problem sets. So here we have the typical results that we are faced with. We have the 37% customer satisfaction rate, overall 250K in revenue that can be generated in the 6 months of working with us. And then you have the 11 to the 20% in business growth, so better systems and higher efficiency. So again, there's no one size fits all solution. Every partner that comes on board with us gets a custom AI architecture. So first you get your AI strategy, then you get your custom AI architecture and AI systems that are derived through thorough research and AI engineering. And we are in this for the long game. But however, we want to win your trust first. So there are different protocols that we will be deploying. So we stick to core AI architecture and systems design, develop in terms of development combined with business acumen, and our anchor in consumer psychology principles. So when we organize, when organizations rather decide to build or scale their AI infrastructure, they often face a key strategic question. How do we set up and manage these systems that power our data science and machine learning workloads? Now, What would that look like for me in my industry is again what this comes down to. That's why I mentioned the point of our machine learning teams being some of the best in the business. And this is a key component for you to understand that machine learning is going to be a big part of the process if you are a big dog and you want to understand, how that edge is going to be redefined throughout this process. So I've showed you the solution sphere. So there are one of two decisions that we are going to make once we are going to work together, or you're going to decide to either do this yourself. However, we have the build momentum path where we will recommend building certain solutions that will allow us to win your trust. And so that we can show you what this ROI is actually going to do in the span of 30 to 60 days. And then we could move over to the custom path. Many times founders with existing strong budgets, we recommend going the build your fortress path because that is just the highest leveraging thing for the long term. Many times founders want to build that momentum, want to build that consistency still. And then therefore there are the options that we are faced with here, as you guys can see here in between. Now, when we look at the do-it-yourself path, which is path number 1 here, and we look at the partnership path, which is teaming up with us, the biggest thing which we're addressing here, as I've mentioned this probably like 3 times, but there has been cases, and this is on the high end, right, where we work with founders that are very sophisticated, very, very good at what they do in their business, build amazing businesses, 7 to 8 figure businesses plus. And the case here is that the founder has a grand vision. And again, we have to understand how to mold what the founder wants to build towards the reality of what is possible. And building these AI systems, it can be very, very deep and dark. Very deep and dark. So why we're addressing this in the following way is we're saying, look, each and every single business, what we're seeing, will need an AI partner. Until you have built your own AI department and you have the best guys in AI in your team, then sure, by all means, like go ahead, do whatever you need to do, right? But before you have reached that point, we know how important it is to have an AI partner. And it's also very, it's very sophisticated and very complicated. And therefore, it's very, very dark. And it's a jungle of technical jargon, hidden cost, talent management, and weekly system breaks, sleepless nights, spent managing infrastructure instead of growing your business, and paralyzing risks of getting it wrong and starting all over again. Or you can simply work with us. We'll handle all this technical jargon for you and also even build the teams for you that you need. And we will guarantee speed to value, whether it's an instant win or a long-term build, like I've mentioned. You can get expert partner dedicated to your ROI and your success. We always operate first on the client perspective, on the needs of the client, and then again, what is reality and possible. And then you move fast, build smarter, and you lead your industry. So the AI economy and the winners in the AI economy in the age of AI are not just those who are able to evolve, but they are those who are able to make faster decisions than their competitors. That is what AI is allowing us to do. It is allowing us to make better decisions faster. It's allowing us to build faster. So now we just need to understand what direction do we need to build in and where do we start, right? And this decision is simply yours. One very important decision. So let's build your new edge together. So here, just in quick little summary, I please want you guys to go and read this paper, check this out. It is super important for you to understand your lens on AGI and ASI, because AGI and ASI is around the corner. And smart founders know that they will require AI infrastructure to be able to plug into AGI systems. AGI systems will automate not only rule-based tasks, but complex decision-making, strategic analysis, and innovation. So legacy systems get left behind. If you haven't laid the foundation, you can't plug into AGI systems, right? And you will be forced out or absorbed. So what differentiates us and why do industry leaders choose to work with us and alongside us? It's very simple. We have 3 unique competitive edges. We have firstly built our own cubicle platform. It's an AI platform, and we have developed our own proprietary and principal frameworks and protocols, which we deploy through the systems and the AI lens over the last couple of years. This extensive data, which we have collected with all the different industries that we have worked with, right, which I've showed you guys, this has allowed us insights to millions of data points, which gives us that unique edge to be able to understand where unique cases are deployed. Some of the cases might be similar in terms of HR, etc., or whatever the case might be per business. And when we also have an AI native first approach, which simply means is that we are building businesses and systems with AI first. That's what that means. Now, here is a screenshot of some of the proprietary principles and protocols. As you guys can see here, if you take a screenshot of this, you will see that there is a AI native networking and framing and all the different stuff for the AI mapping that we're going to be looking at. Extracting enterprise data and insights. So I've mentioned to you guys, based on our extensive research and all the different niches that we've worked with, we've been able to pull out many different data points and be able to architect many different solutions, which has allowed us to really be positioned in this way that we are positioned as a leading AI firm. So also G20, B20 engagement, which I have mentioned, it's allowed us to really, move across the experience of battle-tested intelligence across different sectors, and we've distilled that all into our own data mode and into our own AI system, our AI platform, which is the Cubicle platform, which I keep, obviously it's derived off of our principles. We've used our own principles in building that. So here we have the engagement process. We're going to have a demo call, then some data intelligence, and then we're going to look at your overall AI strategy to your AI architecture, and then your AI solution. And then there's the team allocation, which I've shown you guys, and then the execution, implementation, kickoff, milestones, etc. to set the stage, right? Full stack teams, mentioned that. So here's what you will be getting when you're going to be working with us. Obviously, this is a templated view of things. This is it's changes per offer and contract. So it's usually a data intelligence bump, data first infrastructure and the architecture component. Then we're going to look at the AI strategy and road mapping. Then we're going to look at AI model development and implementation. Now, this also depends. Again, what are we building? Are we building on top of LLMs? Are we taking a little bit more of a custom route? What are we doing, right? That is the question. And then optimization and continuous improvement and scalable future-proof solutions. So then we're going to look here in terms of bi-weekly calls and updates. In terms of we will be having a weekly cadence of updates and performance updates and stuff that will be get sent through in terms of how we build. There will be a specific AI specialist that will be allocated towards the project, which I've talked about. And then we have the ongoing updates and maintenance. We have access to southpolsystems.io international community and network. Reason why I put this here is because it's very important to understand that we have done the work to create a international network from Russia to Kazakhstan to South Africa, Cape Town to New York to LA. All around, we've been able to, Australia as another really good example, we've been able to kind of establish really strong networks of people in all sorts of different industries, whether it's crypto leading projects, commodities, stuff like that. We have a solution inside of our network that we will be able to either help you with or connect you with someone, which is obviously very, very key, a key factor in terms of networking. So we have a 60-day goal here in terms of this. We want you to build and generate that quick momentum depending on where you are. And then we also want you to do this process right the first time. So have the right AI strategy, have the right AI architecture, and then have the right AI systems that are installed from day one so that you don't have to repeat this process. And again, most of the clients that we've worked with has said this exact same thing where they were like, hey, we needed to reboot a process. Why are you guys different, etc., right? So in the age of AI and superintelligence, we are your go-to partner to do this right the first time and build towards the long term. Now, to sum it up, you are going to AI systemize what already works. We are going to convert your current systems and workflows into integrated AI native engines so you keep the familiar processes but gain a sharper competitive edge. We're going to turn your data into an AI moat, or rather into a moat. Your day-to-day, it will turn into an AI moat later, but your day-to-day data is captured, enriched, and protected inside the agentic layer of autonomous AI that basically competitors cannot copy. We're going to multiply your output, not your payroll, Always on AI agents automate the busy work and raising productivity and revenue per employee while keeping the headcount low, as I've mentioned. So scale faster and more profitably. Future-proof infrastructure lets you add new products, markets, or volumes without the usual cost drag or the technical debt. So in short, redefine your new AI edge with high leverage AI strategy, AI architecture, and AI systems to AI ecosystems. So guys, I know that's been a mouthful. I spent a lot of time creating this video so that I can make sure that we communicate as effective as we can right here, right now, because it's so important for me to carry this message over throughout what I've learned about AI and throughout what we've learned in the processes of engaging with so many different businesses, that I know how important this is for each and every single founder, whether you're early stage or whether you're like above 7 figures. This is the lens that you need to see things through in the age of AI if the goal is to lead and dominate and really put your foot down, not in terms of just staying ahead, but redefining your edge. So guys, let's go ahead, let's build some purpose-driven AI, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye for now.